Hi everyone, welcome back to Sunday Nights with Faye Seidler. It's me, your host, Faye Seidler. I've been very sick for the last couple of weeks, and as you can see, it's had its toll on me. But life or death, I'm here to give you the news you need to succeed in North Dakota and to accomplish your dreams and goals. So the show goes on, as they say, and we have so much good news for you tonight. Let's get into it. Hi everyone, I'm actually better than that. I'm not just a skeleton. I'm a real flesh and human girl right now. But I did have a really long time of being sick, and I know I don't have to apologize except for the Midwesterness in me insists that I do and to feel guilty all the time. It never goes away. But I am back. I did a lot of work to catch up on the stuff that I had missed, so I have all of that on my different resources and websites, and I will continue to do the work I do when I'm healthy to inform people about what's going on across the state. The first story I want to tell you is that I wrote to Point of Pride, and I wrote to them things that give me hope. Despite how difficult today is, I think there's a lot we can draw from our history and from our culture that shows us that we are resilient, we are strong, we can overcome this, and we can find a better place in the future. No matter how dire it looks today, we can keep on working for that. Point of Pride does a lot of really important things in terms of giving individuals access to healthcare and funding, resources, binders. It is fantastic, and it's such an honor for me to be able to write for them and to be on their blog talking about hope. So check that out, and more importantly, share their organization out because their work is important and phenomenal and even a source of hope in itself. Another thing that I got really behind on because I was sick was the LGBT Safety Taskforce. That is still happening. I'm still doing it once I am not a skeleton. And I have an interview that I did for that. I did a lot of different engagements with journalists back then. And then I got extremely sick for a couple of weeks. So we are still getting back into that. You can tell people about it. You can explore it. But our goal is to increase protective factors for our LGBT youth across the state. In other news about me, it's the Faye Seidler Show. I'm just talking about me, I guess. We have the 4th annual Raise the Trans Flag event happening March 31st with a community call for people to change their social media profile pictures to the trans flag from March 24th to March 31st. The idea with this is that most of the time if you're trans and online, you see a lot of negative rhetoric about yourself. Most comment sections are filled with just incredibly awful, toxic commentary about trans folks. So I want it to be a time where if you go online, you see the opposite. You see a ton of support. Because a lot of people support trans folks or just really don't care, and that's fine either way. But we don't always see that when the loudest, angriest voices are the ones that lead with hate. So that's an event that's happening. I'm currently taking videos from trans and NB folks across the state to showcase that they live here, they work here, they thrive here. That's kind of a message I want to give to youth. And then finally, I just want to give you a little clip of a little scroll through of my website because I just put throughout 2 newsletters that is basically all the work I did across the month and caught up on. I have over 200 different stories, articles about data, resources in our communities, or just important things to be aware of if you work in healthcare, politics, education, or just in community and human rights. There's always a ton of things going on, and I think connecting people to these opportunities is what allows us to create the capacity for change. And that could be big connections, that could be small connections, but my purpose of my work is to connect people. So please check it out. It will only take you a couple of minutes to read through what took me 25 hours to put together for you. And it's so you can be well informed on what's going on in our state. It might not all apply to you, most of it won't, but you can probably take the things you see and apply it to other people in your life. Maybe you don't do much with libraries, but there could be a good library story that you have a friend or neighbor who would benefit from. The point is to open conversations and share them out with people because that matters and is important. And it's how we build the infrastructure for a better future. All right, going into the other stories, Kansas legislator passed a trans bathroom bounty bill and revoked driver's license for trans individuals without any grace period. What this means is that trans individuals basically woke up and their documents were effectively illegal, so if they wanted to drive, that would not be a legally valid license, and they could potentially get fined or arrested just for trying to use their car, to potentially even go to the DMV to even get that corrected and changed. What Kansas would like is for everyone to effectively have a really pronounced gender marker so everyone can see the sex assigned to them at birth and not the truth that they are living in their current life. This is one of the most aggressive, dystopian, awful directions that is scapegoating a minority and creating conditions where their lives are basically impossible. It's something a lot of people don't like, even if you don't agree trans individuals necessarily exist or that you don't like them for other reasons. I think a lot of people don't like the idea that the government is revoking their legal identities without any grace period for them to get any help. It's obviously very hostile and dangerous to this community and doesn't help anyone. It solves nothing. It makes nothing better for anyone. It just
really shows the amount of political violence trans individuals are experiencing. So continue to be aware, especially if you work in healthcare or any kind of public health, that trans individuals continue to suffer, and the minoritized stress of the prejudice that we see in society has consequences not just for their health, but the public health of the friends and families that care about this community. Nothing happens in isolation. More than 100 Fargo South students lent their voice to anti-ICE protesting. There's been protests in a number of schools in our area. Keep in mind that these protests are against the awful ways that we are treating BIPOC individuals, irregardless of their immigration status. It is something that we have seen untold stories of harm happening to individuals, in horrific stories like individuals who are legal citizens in some capacity being picked up and dropped off in the middle of nowhere and dying because they freeze to death. There's been atrocities that have been committed and no resolution to the justice, especially with murders that have happened locally in our Minnesota communities. I think it's worth knowing that kids aren't stupid, that they see the same world that we do, that online is not inaccessible to them, and they can see very clearly with their eyes the tragedies that are happening. I think youth voices are essential, and maybe if we're not necessarily being entirely led by them, they should have a place at the table. Because our youth feel hopeless in a society that they see so much harm happening, and so much approval of that harm happening from our political sector. It isn't good. And I think it's incredible that we see students exercising their civic right to protest. And I think it's wonderful that we see our students using their voice. I think any way that we are civically involved, and youth should be civically involved as they are in consequence to bills that happen, such as cell phones being taken away, it adds a fuller picture of the different stakeholders we have in our society. Gender Justice has announced that they're going to pursue an appeal to the gender hormone care ban in North Dakota. So the idea would be to overturn that based on the idea that our Constitution should protect trans individuals. And it's strange that trans individuals seem to be uniquely denied any protections in the law as it bends over backwards to uphold prejudice. I think their odds of actually winning this lawsuit are pretty high because the groundwork to deny trans individuals care is incredibly flimsy and not even consistent with the values that North Dakota continues to uphold, such as parental rights to dictate the health and upbringing of a child. It is strange that only parents of trans youth are the only ones that have no actual freedom or parental authority in our state, and everyone else can do whatever they want. So they'll probably win. Hopefully they do. Follow, like, subscribe. I want to highlight the incredible work of the 31-8 Project, which does a lot of work to help individuals who are experiencing trafficking, especially youth who are experiencing it. They also have things like bravery backpacks to help out kiddos in general and to create more support and help and healing for youth who are part of or have experienced trafficking in some way. They are some of our leading voices in that, and they host the Human Trafficking Summit yearly. Their newsletter has a ton of opportunities to get involved, so if you want to do your work to make sure that our kiddos are safe across the state, or that we simply are much better equipped at reducing trafficking in all of its forms, they are one of our leaders. There are several across our state doing amazing work, but I want to highlight them in particular. I want to let you know that the Free School Initiative has gotten a third of the signatures they need to be on the ballot, and they are likely to meet their goal. And once they do, we are likely to pass that because, of course, everyone in North Dakota wants kids to eat, except for some of the folks that we have as lawmakers. So this will probably happen, and I think that's great news because every time youth eat, every time they have access to food, every time there's not hurdles they have to run through to get it, it makes it so our youth are happier and healthier and more stable, and that has profound impacts throughout all of our society. With all the issues happening across our country, healthcare continues to be one of the biggest ones and the number one expense that Americans have identified. We let the Affordable Care Act subsidies expire. We have not done anything, to my knowledge, to reduce the stress and damage that has caused. And to my knowledge, that means almost 1 million people have gone uninsured this year because of that. There are an enormous amount of downstream consequences on healthcare infrastructure because it's not just people without insurance, it's more people not seeking healthcare anymore. It's terrible and awful, and we have to deal with it at some point, and it seems like we are not. So maybe tell your lawmaker that, hey, healthcare sucks. Can we do anything to fix it? In really exciting news, in West Fargo, an Eagle Scout earned every merit badge in Scouting America that they have to offer. There's only been 650 people or around there, from what I remember in the article, that have ever achieved this. And I think it's a testament to someone who's put a lot of time, talent, dedication, and effort into their work to achieve something like that. And it's always great to see that coming out of North Dakota. So check out the story, celebrate them, and send it out. I think the Scouts are a great opportunity for a lot of youth to get involved and invested. So to me, this is a really cool story. I want to quickly highlight a story that kids do not want to be teachers, and I think we understand why. We underinvest in education. and we underinvest in the teachers that dedicate their lives to helping our youth out. Most of the time, what we get from our lawmaking body is just backseat driving and everything teachers are doing wrong, rather than the real constructive support that they need, which is more funding, more teachers, smaller classrooms, and more general support within their community. But as it stands now, everything they do is wrong. They get no support, and it's their fault. It's awful for teachers, and students see this, so why would they ever want to be teachers? And I think if we don't do something to address this, we are definitely going to have a crisis going forward. Keep in mind, Indy United has done teacher surveys that are very grim. Most teachers not expecting themselves to still be in the profession in 5 years. It requires an intense amount of education. It's a complex field that is difficult and changing every day, and it gets paid nothing and costs a ton, and their loans aren't even forgiven. So we have a lot of work to do in healthcare and education. I sure hope we do it. I want to let people know the first measles case in North Dakota came out around February 4th. I don't know if it was before that or that's when it was reported. We're up to, I think, 10 or more cases right now, possibly 20. This is changing every day as some people, heal through this and are no longer infectious. Other people get it new. But it continues to trend that we are having exponential increases in outbreaks all across the nation, and we are feeling it in North Dakota. Vaccinations are one of the best ways to prevent this and to prevent spread and to protect youth who can have severe consequences, even death, for measles. It may not be 100% of the youth that have it, but it is a risk any youth can have, and it would sure be nice to mitigate that risk. In good news, Froggy raised over $200,000 for Sanford Children's Hospital. This is a really cool clinic that does what it says. It's a children's clinic, hospital. Kids can go there to get their healthcare needs. I haven't had to interact with the clinic very often, but I see the work that they do and the effort they have in our community to create accessible healthcare for youth, so I think this is going to be a good story. I want to also let you know that there's a pop-up roller skating community in Minot, which is always exciting. I have this soft spot for skating communities or derbies or roller girls. It's all cool to me. I don't personally do it. I'm not the person out there in skates, but it's cool, right? It's just cool, and it's cool to be able to get out and involved and active with skating. And it's kind of nice to see a resurgence in my eyes to this from something that was, more prominent in the 80s and 90s and kind of died off in the 2000s and 2010s, at least in my perception. So I think it's cool. I like that they're back. I want to highlight that Grand Forks Library does quite a lot of work, and it goes further than just children's activities. There is an article highlighting some of their extra work that they do, but libraries are boons to their community. They make every community they are in better. They are incredible for a multitude of reasons that are not just books. They can be, and books are awesome, but they are community centers in the real sense of that word. They are the heart and soul of the communities that they happen to be in a lot of the time. And the more that we support them and try to support librarians and not malign them to culture wars, the better all of our communities are doing. I think that might be the through line of my episode and the last month of my work is that we should just let professionals cook, right? We should let teachers be teachers and librarians be librarians and start to listen to, honor, and respect the words of the people who've dedicated their life to what we had historically considered worthy and heroic causes of teaching kids things and inviting them. And they're not malicious actors. They are doing what they've always done across the profession, and that is be a warm and welcoming space for everyone. So as I come back, I just want to let you know that I'll continue to be doing my show. Please follow me on social media. Please check out my newsletters. I have a ton of this information, much more than this, that you can access. I have merch. You can support me through buying merch, or you can support me through Patreon, because I do this work as a volunteer advocate. I get supported through things like Patreon, but there is no paycheck that comes to me to do a show like this. I do it because it's personally important for me to inform other people. So you can support that to make sure it keeps happening, and as long as I'm not a skeleton, I think I can keep doing it. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a good rest of your night. Hope to see you here next week. Bye.